Hey guys, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching. I'm doing a review of the effectiveness of the zones for last week. Um, Let me cover a couple things. First of all, uh, the intent of the video is to help people learn how to trade consistently, right? I'm not trying to be everything to everyone. I'm trying to teach people who want to be consistent in their trading how to take a trade, execute the trade, and exit the trade profitably, right? There's a million ways to slice this cake. This is my particular way of slicing the cake. And I've been very successful in helping others get consistently profitable and end the frustration process of the boom bust cycle from following a certain set of disciplines and rules that make making a trading decision much simpler. Okay, so let's first go over the rules so that everyone understands, and then we'll back out from there. Okay, the idea is that first touch of a zone, the green area, the entire area, this entire area, hold on a second here. This is a zone with its, if the two bars are the same color, the whole area is one zone, meaning if we come up like this, reject out, that is first touch of the zone from below. And then if it were to come from the other direction, from above and below, that would be first touch from above. That is it. That is all I'm trying to figure out on that zone is on first touch. Can I get a rotation back up? Period. Remember, the objective is to get 1 to 2 profitable trades a day so I can build my account and build my wealth. Okay, moving forward. If the zone has a single colored bar, there's nothing else there. The yellow, this example is yellow line. The zone is plus or minus 1 point, right? So this zone effectively ends up being 2066 to 2068. Okay, point number 3. These dotted lines, Globex high and low, they are not zones. Okay, yes, I'm aware there's a trade-off Globex high and Globex low. It's not what we're talking about here. So the next objective is, can we get first touch of zone, and are we able to get either achieve a 2-point rotation up, right, or excuse me, a 2-point rotation off of the entry of the trade, or are we able to stop the trade within 20 minutes and minimize our loss, right? That's the objective. So let's go in and see here. This is the 26th, which would have been this Monday. Market opens up. If you look at the market open here, I'll just grab instead of trying to go bigger. That is not what I wanted to accomplish. Let's erase that here real quick. Okay. Go. Here's the open. You can see we opened, tested down to 2064.50, right? And then you can also see from 2064.50, we backside test up back into 2067.30. Both of these areas, 2067.25, both of these zones, oddly enough. And remember, most of the time, only my most aggressive traders are trading in the first half hour, right? But from this location here, was 2 points able to be achieved. Obviously, yes, it pushed up. From this location here was 2 points able to be achieved. Yes, it obviously rotated down for well more than 2 points. We went from 2067.25 all the way down to 2061. Okay, so very simple and straightforward. In the first half hour, both of these zones are tested. For me and the balance of the day, from above, there's no trade for me to take here, right? There are some other screens I generally want greater than a 5-point rotation into a zone before I take it, but right now the zones have been very compacted, so even without a 5-point rotation, the zones have been highly, highly effective. Okay, so that being said, this worked, this worked. So let's keep track. Hypothetically, right, obviously, because everyone makes different trades, we now have 2 touches of zones, touch 1, 2 points within 20 minutes, touched, second zone touched, it's another, it's 2 points. At that point, you've now bagged potentially 4 points or more for the day. Okay, let's keep moving forward. Stop drawing. Let's get rid of the close-up area. There we go. The next area for us to focus on this particular trade would either be a move up from below. In this particular case, we moved from 2060 to 2062. I can tell you I'm not even going to count that as a touch. I would not take that trade with a 2-point rotation up and the move back to the downside. There's simply not a trade. I'm not going to count it in my count. But you will notice once we came up from underneath, it did reject, right? Again, this area, this was a complete balanced day. This area has already been tested. There's no trade for me here. We obviously just sat here and balanced back and forth. The zones were pretty well traded. There's pretty well measured. There's really nothing else to say about Monday. It was a tight, narrow, balanced range. Both ranges got tested in the first half hour, and we never extended out of that. Okay, let's move on to the next day. So next brings up the 27th. Okay, and on the 27th, you can see we open up. First move in, again, let's expand this out so everyone can see it clearly. We open up, first move into this 2056 and 3/4 to 2057 and 3/4. We rotate back down. Where do we rotate back down to? 2055, 2 points able to be achieved. That's trade 3. Let's mark down 2 points there, right? Next time up into the zone, this zone's already been tested. Again, Globex low is not a zone for me, right? Again, we move up into the zone. We move into 2059.50 to 2060.50 within 20 minutes, right? The best rotation we are able to sustain within 20 minutes is from 2059.50 was back down to 2059. Obviously not 2 points, right? At that point, you have a choice. You can move your stop to break even, which would have meant you would have been flat, right, on the push back up. You could have moved your stop preferably 1 point above the swing high. That would have put you at 2061.50 from 2059.50. That would have been giving you roughly a stop of 3 points on the trade, assuming you took the front of the zone, right? And if you held beyond the 20 minutes or you left your stop 1 point behind, you were eventually able to get a push all the way down to the zone, to the biggest stretch of the zone, which was 2054, which is essentially 2055, which would have entailed Globex low, right, to 2053 even, right? I do consider this the first touch of this zone. Again, we did not test Globex high as well. First time in, obviously we consolidated right in front of that after we touched and get a huge rotation up. I want to bring a point up to this. Normally this is a great example of where you got a first touch from above, and but with a very small rotation, right? From 2060 to 2057, this is essentially exactly a 4-point rotation, and exactly why I prefer somewhere between 5 and 10 points of rotation into a zone. This zone busted right away, but it is a good example how it's not magical. The first touch of the zone in this case did not work, right? And it busted right through. Again, I asked people to focus on a larger rotation. It was also the midpoint of a poorly auctioned area here to the left. No one should have really been caught out on this zone. Again, this is another great example when we're going through the zones. 2060.50 down to 2053, 7-point stretch, first touch, reaction back to the upside, and obviously 2 to anywhere from 14 points are able to be achieved. So if you want to be technical about it, this would have been a loss. There's no way I don't think there's any way I would have taken a trade here. And I'm essentially not going to count it. It was a sub 4-point rotation after consolidation right above it with a break to the downside, right? So that's now counting this trade. This is another trade we're able to achieve. If you took exactly 2 points, obviously 2 points out of the zone without a stop, that puts you over 2 days right there, just with that, at +8 over 2 days, with first focusing again purely on first touch of the zone, right? We rotate back up. Again, this is not first touch of the zone from underneath that occurred here. This zone has already been tested from above, right? So again, no touch. I did not have a zone at Globex high. My zone was above at 2066 to 2067, which got tagged a couple days later, right? This zone, again, this is first touch of this zone from above. This rotation was actually 2063 to 2060. Again, a very small rotation in. You can see how the zone held, but again, I would not have been very aggressive in this area, and particularly most of the time, this is actually a pretty great dichotomy. Most of the time, we do not get this price action where it slices right through. Even with a small rotation, you'll usually see a pause in this area, first time back into a zone from the other side. And in this case, if you look, it's 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes in the zone. This zone has done its job from above and is tested. This move here is second time into the zone over here, right? Was already tested above. It's tested again here. This is the third time, right? Easily busted. Again, there's not even a consideration of a trade here. And if you look, this zone's already been tested, right? This is first test. We're not trading the second test, but this is second test, right? So what does that leave? It leaves this open gap below down here at 2051 3/4. First time into 2051 3/4. Rotation all the way back to 2056. You are obviously able to get your 2 points off the first touch of your zone. End of the day, that now puts you at plus 10. And then if you'll look, this zone again, already tested multiple times. Over here, there's no trade here. And then finally, this 2059 to 2060, let me draw this in a little bit, was already tested back over here at the end of the day. There's simply no short here, right? Also, our bias has primarily also been throughout the course of the last 3-4 weeks to the long side. That's where the focus of my trades have been. Both sides worked very efficiently all the way through the last couple of weeks, but the long side has definitely given, in my eyes, better trades. The short has simply been filled with more of an anxiousness, right? Because obviously when the market's grinding straight up, it's easier to ride it to the upside, right? And secondly, it's just been hard to get extensions to the downside on a lot of days, right? We've ended up with very tight rotations. And certainly after 1:30 in the afternoon, I have not wanted to be short. It's simply been the losing side with the exception of Friday. You simply have gotten the crap kicked out of you if you've been short in the last hour of this market. No desire to do so. So let's move on to 28th was Fed Day. I'm not even going to pull up the chart. There's no point. The range was huge, 20 points. I usually recommend and I myself skip Fed trading. It's just not worth it for me. I'm not even going to bother with it. Let's go to Thursday. If you look on Thursday, obviously this is Wednesday's high. It was the zone below. We clearly had a balanced day. If you look, we opened up, rotate right into the 2083 1/4, 2085 1/4, rotate out for 2 points, right? Then count that. It's plus 2. So realize, first touch of the zone there, all the way through here, even if we had a question mark, there was potentially one loss, right? I didn't count it. It was right in the middle of the range. You can add it or subtract it if you like. No big deal. But everything else is either giving you 20 minutes to get out of the trade, even on second and third touches in some cases, right? But at this point, just following first touch of the zone, that's 12 points that's been racked up, and that's assuming you left no trailer, right? And that you couldn't read the market for any more of a larger rotation or target to the upside or to the downside, right? And I can tell you, we identified multiple swing trades to the long side through the course of the week. There was well more than 2 points per trade in some of these trades available, right? If you move on, let's go and check out Friday. Friday, again, another excellent day. Again, remember, look at what I'm doing each time. I have a very square set of rules that I'm following here. Requirement, first touch of zone. I determine for myself, is first half hour trade acceptable or unacceptable? Meaning I determine how aggressive a trader I'm being, right? Secondly, I determine what my minimum rotation size is that's acceptable for a trade. As long as I exceed that, I take the first trade into the zone. I have a set stop. Generally, it's 2 points behind the back of the zone, right? And then I make sure that I'm maintaining a high win rate. And then finally, I decide, do I want to focus on do I take both long side or short side trades, or do I just want to focus on the long side when buyers are clearly in control? Again, that's all up to the individual trader, but I've really narrowed down. What I've done here in this process is I've eliminated so many options so that I don't get overwhelmed while I'm in my decision-making process. It's clear, it's concise, and it's close to binary, right? I am or I am not going to take the trade. This is my stop, this is my time limit, this is my target. Very straightforward. Are there other trades? Absolutely. Do I take other trades? Absolutely. The idea here is to present a very focused approach to futures trading and really stock trading in that, right? I'm operating in an unlimited environment, in an unlimited and dangerous environment. I want to limit the number of choices I can make. I want to be clear, concise, and to the point in how I'm making that choice. And I want to limit the amount of time that the market has to do damage to my account. And I want to preset estimate of how much of a loss I'm going to sustain every time so I can determine the appropriate amount of risk I can take per trade. So let's start off. Market opens up. We trade into the 2084.50 to 2086.50. Again, I do not use Globex high or low for anything other than a point of reference. Rejection out of 2084.50 right out of the gate. Let's count that as another plus 2 points. Obviously, there was potential out of 2084.50 all the way down to 2077.50. Notice this rotation down to 2077.50, right? To the tick, right? Gives a rotation from 2077.50 back up to 2082.50, right? Had a couple people take it on this 50-60 retrace back in at 2078. And the reason for that was it was almost impossible to get filled at 2077.50 the first time in. Literally 16 contracts went off at 77.50. It was very hard to get filled here. You were able to get filled a tick in front or on the retrace here with a push clearly back up to 2082.50. Clearly you're able to get 2 points there. That's 4 points on the day, even if you took it on the 50-60 retrace here, right? Next, rotation up. This zone has already been tested. Absolutely no one should have lost money following this methodology on this push above the zone. Additionally, even if you took it on second touch, right, 5, 10, 15, 20, you should be able to get your scale by now. Again, the focus on the zones is on the first touch, not the second touch. But again, you'll see even on second touch, provides location quite often. And in this case, we're in balance. We push back into the middle. There's no test. Trade on this backside of Globex high. We push back down to 2077 to 2075. This is second touch into the zone. Still yields a 2 points. I'm not counting it. I don't take the second trade into the zones. And then you'll see, even at the end of the day where we had this long liquidation, right? People come right into 2073 to 2071. Your stop is 2069. Clearly not hit. And it still rotates up to 2074.25 out of the zone. I imagine, again, I don't know many people that are taking trades right. I mean, this is actually after the close of NYSE, so there's no reason to be taking this trade, quite frankly, but the zone was still highly effective. So that's the end of the review of the zones for the week. As you can see, you can either count the loss there of that one zone that would have put you -4. I still count approximately 14 points on first touch. Even if you count the 4-point loss, it's still plus 10. Guys, that's $500 a contract for the week. Okay, so again, a lot of the touches came in the first half hour. You have to determine how aggressive you are and how comfortable you are. But even in the trades outside of that, the objective is we know that we have high odds at where the location of the zone location. We know that if we take the trade and we limit the amount of risk we're going to take, but we give it an appropriate stop, the market needs an appropriate stop, right? But I have high odds of achieving 2 points of rotation down or being able to stop that trade, and usually for much less than that 2-point stop behind the back of the zone, right? And if you'll look a couple of videos down, you'll see I did the same trade review last week. The zones have been highly, highly effective in limiting where you have to make decisions, how you're going to make decisions, and giving you great opportunity to rack up points and put it in the bag. Anyways, my name is Simon. If you're not in the room and you'd like a trial to the room, please email me at tradeandperform@gmail.com, and I will be happy to extend a 5-day pass to you. I hope everyone had a great week, and I'm looking forward to a good week next week. I will talk to all of y'all later. Have a great night.